What's the gap like in terms of like what you have to know in being an intro like I am to being a certified like you?
I think that like intro is just really starting to see the scope of how vast this world is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's starting to like kind of learn technical information, like especially about certain like really starting to understand like countries versus regions versus specific appellations and like how that breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And then like when you start understanding that, then you start like seeing labels of wine labels either on the shelf or in your restaurant, and then you see certain words that make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really the beginning. It's like kind of my dad always talks about like opening this box and just seeing what's in the box and be like, whoa. And to me, that's kind of what intro is. And for certified, it's kind of the beginning of structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when somebody talks about the structure of wine, it's like the acidity levels, the tannin levels, the body and the weight of a wine, and then really starting to delve into the structure of grapes, like how kind of Sauvignon Blanc has its own thing versus Chardonnay has its own thing, and really understanding the differences between these grapes and these countries and these regions, and even within the same grape, something like he's talked about. I don't know if he ever gave his tomato analogy, but it's something that resonates with me a lot. Like if you walk into a restaurant and you have a great tomato salad, the first thing that you would ask yourself is what kind of tomato is this? Is this a beefsteak tomato, Campari tomato, cherry tomato? Even though they're all tomatoes, they all have very different flavor profiles and they have different applications essentially. So that would be the first question. And then is this tomato from Hauula, which is a little bit cooler and closer to the ocean? Or is this from Haleiwa or somewhere that's warmer and more sun-baked? And even if it's the same tomato grown in these two different locations, it'll have very different flavor profiles as well and different applications. And that's kind of the same thing with grapes. Like whether it's Pinot Noir or Chardonnay or Cabernet Sauvignon, whether it's warm climate or cool climate. Mm-hmm. And then also, like he always gives this analogy, if you take the same tomato and you give it to Chef Roy Yamaguchi or Chef Alan Wong, and you ask them to make the same or a tomato salad, you'll have two different tomato salads. And that's kind of with winemakers, even though they're in the same region and their vineyards are right next to each other or whatever, or like right across the street, you'll have very different wines just based on producers. And like, to me, that's what certified kind of is. It's just really starting to delve in to like the kind of more nitty gritty of it all, you know?
I love it. And then, so you're studying for your advanced now. What's that gap like?
Patrick Okubo is really gracious with his time, and he kind of puts this study group together. And when I had initially passed my certified exam, like 2 weeks later, he sends the syllabus of kind of like the scope of things that you need to know for advanced theory. Bro, and this thing's like 40 pages, like 30 pages. It's a stack.
Yeah.
Like I printed it out, kind of just scrolling through. I didn't realize how many pages it was. And I printed it out and I was like, whoa, you can't even like staple it together because it's like got some heft to it. And in my mind, that's kind of what put it in perspective of like, this is a really big jump. And also like you can just sign, after you take intro, you can sign up to take certified like immediately. Where with advanced, there's like a bunch of different hoops that you have to jump through to like get you ready. So the test that he was talking about is the Sommelier knowledge assessment. And it's in like a testing facility where people are like taking like the LSAT and stuff, you know, it's like Pearson VU, like hardcore. They search your pockets, like, and you have to check in everything at the door. And it's like this approved computer that you're like logging onto. And then from there, depending on how you do on that test, you then get invited to the advanced sommelier course, which is a 3-day mandatory class that you have to take in Dallas, Texas. So me and some of our peers are going to that in June. And then you can apply to take the test the following year. So I can't take my actual test until February.
Wow, what a process.
It's a process.
And that's why there's very few, you know, and, you know, when it comes to the level after advanced, which is what that is, master, which I'm sure will be in your future at some point, you know, but that's why there's less than 300 of them in the world.
Is that what the number is now?
It's less than 300. And, you know, I know some of them are dying and you know what I mean? So it's like that number always hovers a little bit under 300.
Well, and what's crazy being local boys here is that in Hawaii alone, we have 6.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I mean, I remember hearing something about like Washington, D.C., which you think is a big city, has 2. And
per capita, we're smashing.
We're
bro.
smashing. And Hawaii has a big, strong sommelier community. And it's something that, like, I mean, I'm getting chicken skin talking about it, that like makes you feel proud, you know, that he always tells me all these stories about back in the day. And out of the first 10 masters that passed during those original exams that he was talking about, 5 of them lived in Hawaii at the same time. And granted that they might not have all been from Hawaii, but like it was an ongoing joke that you have to live in Hawaii to pass the master exam, you know? So it's like, kind of gives you like a sense of pride. And
wow. I love it. And it's just, this talk is geeking me out. I want to know about your relationship with your dad. How's that?
I mean, you know, it's something that I never take for granted, especially now, you know, like as a son growing up, you have certain things that you view, and especially when you're lost, like you don't really know a direction. And now that this is my career, like being in a restaurant is absolutely what I want to do for the rest of my life. And just having someone like that, I call him like 5 or 6 times a day, probably too much, and I may bother him sometimes, but I feel super fortunate for having, for one, a guiding light, because I think that in restaurant industry, it's stressful, it's really fast paced, and it's kind of easy to lose your way, you know, and not to get dark or anything, but like it's easy to lose focus.
Yeah.
And to me, I'll like call him and he'll ask me about service, especially like maybe more so before. And I would complain and be like, oh, bro, like this guy did this, or like this manager did this, or like I didn't make money this day or whatever. And he'd always just tell me like, that's restaurants. And it's like, bro, just listen to me complain sometimes, you know, but like that, he's right. That is what it is. And like, if you keep on that mindset of just pointing out things that are wrong, then that's really only going to affect you, you know? And then now with, studying to be a sommelier, I have a lot of support with like giving me structure to pass these exams. People like Patrick and Chris Melvin and all these like peers that you really look up to. And then I have someone that's rooted in like old school and tradition to like help me, push me to be the best at my job, which is kind of what he was talking about in the tasting that you guys just did. It's like these two worlds that are like definitely heading towards the same place, but they're a little bit different in certain senses. And to have both, I think is very fortunate. So
I absolutely agree. Because when we were talking to Dad downstairs and just feeling that OG vibe, like I feel from my uncle when my uncle was teaching me how to make the salad dressing, I know what he's saying about cutting garlic, cutting shallots, you know, and that's something that I think is missing from our current generation.
totally.
They don't have the roots and the fundamentals down. They don't master one step before the other.
Totally.
They expect to get to the second step after being on that first step for a month. You know what I mean?
Which I did too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like when you're young and you're hungry and like you're trying to, like you see, especially in restaurants, like you see servers. I mean, that's like kind of when you're young and you're a busboy or in the dish pit or whatever, and you're looking at servers and bartenders like, man, that's what I want to be because they're making money. Like, like it's like, I already did the busing thing, you know, and that's kind of his thing. Is my first job ever was polishing wine glasses when they would do these huge dinners at Hiroshi's or Sansei or Vino. And he would pay me like, he says $5, but I'm pretty sure it's $3 a rack. And bro, it would be like this whole room, like 2 of these rooms filled from floor to ceiling with wine glasses in racks. And I'd be back there, I was like 10 years old. I was like, man, this is not fun, you know? And like, I didn't understand what he was trying to instill because to him it meant so much. And now, like being at Mara and having my own wine program, I drill the staff on clean glassware. Like it has to happen. We can't not have clean glasses for the floor, you know? So it's funny that things come full circle.
Oh, 100%. So how do you deal with the current generation? Because there's a lot of great aspects to the current work staff. You know, I'm talking 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm talking that generation. How do you instill some of the old school values in these young ones?
I mean, I think that at our restaurant, we're really fortunate I mean, I'm one of the oldest people at our restaurant, which we talk to the staff about all the time. Like
32?
I'm 32. Yeah. And me and my compadre, Dylan, he's a manager at Mara. When it's really busy, there's a handful of times where we'll like take a step back and look around and it's like, wow, like this restaurant's banging right now. And like, we're the old guys here. Like, it's like a really young, spunky staff, you know? And that's really cool. And being like old guy, I guess, in the restaurant, and like having the staff come up and ask you certain things. Like I'll have somebody like this guy Ethan, he's one of our main food runners. He'll come in the wine room when I'm polishing glasses before service, and we'll just kind of talk story, you know. And I don't know if I'm the best example for him to follow or whatever, but like I'll try to give him points of like what I think are important or what things that I talk about with my dad, and just try to give him some kind of direction. Now he gets it. He wants to be like the next lead expo, and like he's driving for that position, you know? So any little thing and tidbit that you can say just to like spark that interest, I think is important, you know?
So what you're saying, you know, I know Dylan too. I work with Dylan.
McKean?
Oh, wait, is it Larson?
Oh, that's he's the manager at Chino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now we're all the same group. But there's
Dylans
4
and
Dylans, bro. We have 4 Dylans in our restaurant group.
And 2 Justins. You must have
And
more than 2.
I think we might have more than 2 Justins. But
Oh my gosh. Okay. So different Dylan. So when you said that you and Dylan were standing there looking at the floor going, we're the old guys. You know, I have similar situations where, you know, we're doing 300 covers and it's pumping. It's one of my favorite parts of the job.
100%.
When you're in the middle of the organized chaos and you got hundreds of people that are happy. You got live music going on over there. You got bottles flowing. You hear the forks on the plate scraping. You
Laughter,
see people laughing,
yeah.
Or
quiet because they're eating food,
Yeah.
and the food's so good that they stop talking and there's silence, you know?
Focused, man. And then the other half of that is the staff running around, smiling, doing well, being able to support their family through this means, but also providing. We're all here for the same reason, is to provide amazing service and to provide experiences that are going to be unforgettable and sear into people's memories for years to come, right? I want to do your birthday justice. I want to do your anniversary justice.
Or
right?
your first trip to Hawaii. You saved whatever, 5-10 years or whatever, and you're spending however much money, and this is your first experience to come to our islands, and I want it to be genuine, you know? I want you to drink out of a clean glass or eat mean food and have great service where you're not asking for things. And
wow, it seems so. This is our first time actually meeting in person, but
that's not true. The first time I met you was you were a bartender at Roy's, and I was golfing at Ko'olina, and I came in because I think either the snack shop or something was closed, and you sold me a couple beers to take onto the course.
Oh.
That's the first time I remember.
I don't know if we can say that.
Oh, sorry. Edit it out.
No, it's all good. You know, I did what I did at the moment because I felt it was right. But I kind of do remember
this was
that.
like 5-6 years ago. 5 years ago.
6 years ago. I was outside, right? You walked up the side.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You know, me going above and beyond. Anyway, okay. I'm glad that you remember that. But, you know, what I was kind of getting to is that I think that we have a really similar understanding and approach to what we do. And it's good for me to see somebody that's a little bit younger than me that has very similar energy. And I feel good that that's happening in town at Mara right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't wait to come in and experience, you know, what you do there.
Please do. Anytime, just hit me up. And if you just want to come in for a glass of wine, or if you want the full dinner experience, or if you're ever free on a Sunday, we usually do we do at least one wine event a month, and it's usually on a Sunday. So either any of those options, you're more than welcome, always.
Well, Kenji, I want Kenji to, because he's not a wine guy, right?
Yeah.
But being around all this wine content, now he's starting to
get it.
Oh, he's starting to get it. And the interest is generating. So tell me a little bit about Mom. What is Mom's role in this whole situation? We didn't talk about her at all.
She's just like the sweetest, most nurturing person, like exactly what a mother should be, you know? And like you said, my family, her side of the family owns and operates Buzz's Steakhouse in Lanikai. And so just growing up in that restaurant industry, but she's really soft-spoken and she's caring and she goes above and beyond. Like she'll still like try to wash dirty clothes or whatever. She's just always going to be a mom, you know? Like she never stops. I went over to the house the other day and she's like tinkering in the yard, like on her only day off. And it's like, dude, you can't just sit still and like watch TV or hang out. Like you're just always doing something, you know?
It's probably keeping her going.
100%,
right?
Yeah. And restaurant, like both sides of family. Like Buzz is bangs, you know? So
I hear.
She's turning 70 in October and she's still there 5 or 6 days a week and just still grinding, you know? And she's a sommelier too.
She's so she's into wine. Does she still enjoy wine?
Yeah. She has like her own wine list that buzzes, and she needs help with the
here.
verbiage and stuff sometimes. But she like always asks me about, what do you think about this or that, and it's pretty stimulating,
A family of sommeliers. It should be a TV show, bro.
Full house.
Full house, man. Yeah. So I don't know if in the history of Master Sommeliers, if there ever been a father-son duo.
I'm not too sure either, and like I appreciate the credit, but I just want to make sure that like first and foremost, that's hopefully the goal is to get all the way to that way, but more so is to be the best at my job that I can be, and humbly do so. I don't want like things given or whatever, and it's just trying to stay on this path of like never stopping to learn, and whether it becomes Master Sommelier eventually, hopefully, or not, like that's the goal first, and to set an example.
Wow. Well, it's like I said, I have a newfound respect for you, my friend, and I'm sure that we'll have a relationship where, I can come visit you, you can come visit me, and even like Dad said, man, like get him involved a little bit, but I also know that we're also very busy people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like let's let the universe, work on that.
Totally.
Like your friend that you saw golfing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like walking past the orchids joint, and just like the serendipity of everything, how things come together. Let's let that flow.
Totally.
Go with the natural flow. You want to get into some wine?
100%.
Yes, sir. How about let's taste the wine that I brought first, and then we'll do yours.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Like I said, for the viewers out there, this is not about getting it right. This is about sharing some of the intricacies when it comes to characteristics in wine and how complex it can be. But the thing is that we're not trying to steer you away or intimidate you when it comes to this type of tasting. We're just sharing the knowledge and how the years of training and theoretical learning, right? Wine is complex, but it doesn't have to be. Like Dad said, get a mentor, get somebody to point you in the right direction. Okay. I got $20 I want to spend. What can I get? I'm having spaghetti tonight.
And I think like what he's talking about the whole buying side of it, I also think a huge portion of the job is learning how to sell it to a guest to where they don't feel any pressure or anything. It's like, what do you want? Like, you want something just good to drink that's red, even though you're getting fish? Like, whatever. Drink some red wine. Like, that's all you. That's what you want to do. Let's drink some red wine together,
Yeah.
So it's just like figuring out where they're at in their journey or where they're at in their enjoyment, and just trying to be a chameleon in that sense of not making them feel pressured to be like, oh shoot, like the Somm is coming over here, like we gotta act, It's like, no, like what do you want to do? You want to just hang out? Like, let's hang out. You want to drink beers? I drink Coors Light religiously. Like, that's all I drink.
Nice. That's so dope. One thing about like recommending wine, we just touched on this a little bit. There's a 1,000 different personalities on the floor at any one time, and recognizing what kind of guest that is will determine how much effort or energy I put into the recommendation. Do you want to get geeky? Totally. Do you want to talk about that sauce and the fat content of that fish? Because we can do that and get something acidic, right? Or, what do you drink daily? And are you just looking for something like that? Because really, you don't have to have the actual exact pairing that would.
Totally.
What do you like?
Yeah.
Because we could do a bold Syrah for your ahi if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You're used to drinking Syrah. You like Syrahs from Rhone. Like let's go there then.
Totally.
Right?
But usually if that happens though, like not trying to like shame anybody, I'll usually try to pour just a little bit of something. Like, try this wine is awesome, but maybe also try this.
Okay. Oh, see?
Just to like lead you, like just to show you a little bit of like, oh, maybe this is the path that like just maybe maybe I'm not into opulent Syrah as much anymore, and I want to go into something a little bit lighter like this.
Speaking of opulent Syrahs, I'm a big fan of Booker and the Fracture. Have you had the Fracture Syrah?
Not in a long time. But speaking of Syrah, I mean, that was like the trip that changed my life before we blind taste real quick. But
Booker.
Or 2 Octobers ago, when I had passed my certified exam, he took me on this trip throughout southern France, and then up into the northern Rhone Valley of France, which is the most famous place in the world for Syrah-based wines. And then we went to Sicily and to Mount Etna specifically because of this tasting with Kevin that like got me on this path. Like, I fell in love with Etna. And just going there and seeing these vineyards and meeting these people like firsthand and walking these iconic places that you read about in studying for theory or whatever, and seeing it on the ground was life-changing. And Syrah
The volcano
was the epitome of that life change, in my opinion. So.
So it's a grape that's close to your heart.
I mean, it's in its heart, it's like humble and it's earnest and it's hardworking and it's highly intellectual, but in certain cases and in perfect cases, it's capable of making something extraordinary. You know, so Syrah is definitely close to my heart for sure.
Oh, bro, I'm getting thirsty. Okay.